Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Grow Wealthy Grooming. I'm your host, Riverly, founder of the Savvy Groomer, where I teach you guys to go from being burnt out, broken to healthy, wealthy, and happy, building a grooming business on your terms. So let's go ahead and hop right into today's topic. Ask these questions before buying a pet grooming salon. So you're thinking about buying a grooming salon, but aren't sure exactly where to start. How do you know how much a shop is worth? So I'm going to answer all of your questions about buying a grooming salon and why buying a business is not always the right choice. So let's start with, how much is a business worth? One of the biggest questions is, how do you know what a business is worth? Often people say that a business is worth 2 to 3 times its profit. It is important to look at what is the net profit, which is the profit subtracting all of the business and payroll expenses, not gross profit, which is all of the money that the business brings in. I say don't pay more than 1 year's net profit after the salon has paid a full staff manager and at least one groomer. And again, it does depend upon how the shop is operating. But a lot of times, what happens is that we assume, because this person has been working that and making all this money, that that's exactly what we're going to do. But especially if this is a power groomer who currently owns this business and she can personally groom 10 or 20 dogs a day. I mean, I've seen some power groomers with a bather and a receptionist, and they just groom tons of dogs. And if you're going to be the groomer owner, ask yourself, can you make that same amount of money doing exactly what you're doing? So if the answer is no, I would say, imagine if you had to pay a full-time staff manager and a pet groomer to do all of the work. Would you then make as much as they're making, or would you basically break even or even lose money? It is also important to look at the equipment that is included in the sale and be really clear on what is included in the sale and what is not. Make sure when you are buying that you have a specific list of everything that is included and a specific list of what is not included. Okay. You want to make sure you know what the condition of the equipment is in. And again, I know some of you guys are going to hate me for saying this, make sure it's valued at a fire sale price. So basically, if it went up on Craigslist, what would it go for? Very few items in the grooming industry hold their value. Things that do tend to be like forever stainless steel tubs, because those things can be like 30 years old and they look brand new. Things like Caddyshack facts hold their money really well. But things like, shampoo racks or bathing systems don't hold their money well. Dryers don't hold their money well because, again, you don't know how well that's been taken care of. Generally, people are going to buy them at 50% or less of the cost, especially now that it's harder to get replacement pieces, or even if they do get replacement pieces, there's no guarantee that they're going to be compatible now that they've had to change a lot of the ways that things are put together because of COVID. They might have had to re-engineer what that is. So I know that's true for a few dryers where people bought used dryers and went to go get a replacement piece. And during COVID, they stopped making it and it's no longer compatible. So make sure that what you're getting in this sale is actually something that you're going to be able to use and use long term. Okay. So another question I want you to ask yourself is, are you buying a business or just buying someone's job? The same way we talked about making sure that you're making enough profit to hire a manager and a groomer, even if you ultimately become that manager and groomer, you want to make sure that when you're buying this, especially if this is a one groomer owner shop, right? And that means that the owner does all the work and does not have other groomers, any bathers, any receptionists, etc. Right? That means that you possibly could be buying basically their job. What does that mean? So when you're buying a business, you generally buy a running business. So if I were to buy a Massage Envy, I would be buying all of the equipment, everything that's in it, and the employees to do the job. I would be buying an asset. Okay. So you want to make sure you're buying an established running business that is going to be a money making asset for you, you know. And personally, I don't see the point in buying a business if if you aren't going to be hiring employees, right? The way that I see it, and again, everyone is different. Instead of buying a grooming business for like $50,000, you could get a grooming job that pays you $50,000. It would be a lot easier and cheaper. Okay. So if your boss is going out of business and she says, hey, you can buy my grooming business for $50,000, ask yourself, am I buying a business or am I buying my job? Right now, I own my job. Okay. If you're going to buy a business, it should look at it like an asset or an investment, not a job. Okay. You should either hire employees to run the business, and your role should just be to oversee and grow the business as you see fit. Otherwise, you could just put that $50,000 into money, like for stocks or in other investments. Um, Hell, I know, like, with the rate of inflation right now, I mean, it's crazy. Like, buying the $50,000 shop may or may not actually be a good investment. When you're buying that shop for $50,000 and you're just buying a job, I mean, you're also buying the risk that comes along with it. That groomer owner has a lot more risk than employee does. If, the building goes up for sale, if anything like that happens, like that $50,000 might just go down the drain. Okay. Um, there's so many experienced groomers who are ready to step down from grooming and jump into a manager role. There's so many opportunities to do that. Without being rude, I want to say that a lot of times you could take that $50,000 and put that down on a mobile grooming van, and that van is half paid off. On a shop, that $50,000, for better or worse, you're going to have to keep paying that rent, and that's a lot of risk. Obviously, if that $50,000 is attached to real estate, that's totally different. But for the most part, you're generally buying a business that is running inside of a commercial building. Okay. So if you're just going to buy your own job, ask yourself, why pay $50,000? You're like, oh, it's because I will own my job. And no one says that, but you're basically saying that, like, no, I'll be the owner. I'll keep all of the profit. But you do want to look at their P&L, which is their profit and loss. How much net profit is that, and how much of that is basically their job, the salary of doing the groomer. So if you had to pay someone full-time to do the grooming job and a manager to watch that groomer, how much money would you make? How much time would it take to make back that $50,000? And remember, it's not you investing $50,000 and building out a place to your specifications and getting brand new equipment. Okay. So next, I want you to learn about the clientele. When you buy a business, you are also technically buying their clients, which sounds really icky. But to determine how much the business is worth, it's important to figure out how much their client list is worth. So a business with religious 2-week, 2 to 4 week clients are going to be more valuable than a business who has mostly 8 to 12 week clients, right? That won't pay for add-on services. So if you're buying a business that either has a membership model or has, especially a membership model, I want to just say here really quick, if you have a business who has clients who pre-book for the year and they either prepay for the year or they pay monthly with a 30-day retainer, that's a really great business to buy because they've done all the work. They've set everything up. You can literally plug in as a groomer owner and you just groom, and it's really cake. That is a totally different business than a business where everyone calls, you got to like shift them in. Clients kind of come and go as they please. There's no rhyme or reason. Clients argue about pricing, or you find out you're going to have to go significantly up in pricing because when you have to renew this lease, they're not paying market rent in a lease. And so when you go up, and I've seen so many since COVID where leases are going double. I mean, I've seen so many leases where it goes from like $2,000 to $3,000 or $4,000. a student recently, the building was sold and it was $2,000 and it went up to $4,200. So she ended up closing, unfortunately. But that's a big jump. And if you had to increase those prices to that clientele that you don't know well, it's very different than someone who's had those clientels for 20 or 30 years. Okay. You know, it's also important to note that when you take over a business, it's really common to lose at least 30% of that clientele. And some of that is either they don't like the grooms that you do or like the grooms that, your other groomers can do. And then some people just have been staying there so long because they're loyal to that groomer. And the second that groomer is no longer there, they're not willing to follow through. So be aware of that, right? And if they don't have a membership, another positive would be like, okay, is more than 75% of their clientele on a every 2 week bath and every four, like, so 2 week bath and then 2 weeks later, it would be a 4 week groom. If they're on that and it's like 75% of clients or 80% of clients, that's awesome. How many, are they doing online booking? Or is everyone just call and then you're expected to be on the phone for an hour or two, rescheduling people? Are they a lot of no call, no shows and cancellations? You really want to dig into what is that business like? What are those clients like? And do you like those clients? Right? Next, we're going to say, do you have the same grooming style? This is something no one talks about when they're buying a grooming business. Now, if you are a master groomer and they're a master groomer, if you're a certified feline master groomer and they're a certified feline master groomer, things are really easy to go because if you are grooming from a standard and everyone's doing a standard, it's really easy. But grooming is often an art and grooming is often a style, and not everyone likes everyone's style. This is where it gets tricky. Okay. How would you feel about buying a business for $50,000 and have to change the way you groom in order to satisfy an entire clientele because they want it the way the last groomer did? For me personally, that is a deal breaker. I don't want to have to change the way that I like grooms done. I want clients who like the way that I do things. Okay. So if your style is different, the likelihood of those clients staying is pretty slim to none, unless if it's a massive upgrade. If they were kind of a chop shop and you're going to have these really beautiful finished grooms, they're probably going to stay. However, why are you buying a chop shop? I don't know, but let's say you are. Are they willing to pay more for the additional skill, time, care, and attention it's going to take to do that better groom? Ideally, again, when you're buying the shop, they're going to have picture before and after pictures of every single groom that they do. If they do that, that's a bonus. And go ahead and look, is everyone doing a big transformation or is it really just a cleanup every 4 weeks? Right. And if you had to change your style to that, how do you feel? Is that something you're interested? Is that something that they can mentor you for 3 to 6 months or even a year to make sure that you are up to snuff and these clients are going to be happy? Next, I want you to ask, can you do the same number of pets per day as the owner? We are seeing so many power groomers who've been grooming for 20 or 30 years retire and they're selling their businesses. If they can do 14 dogs a day with or without a bather, can you? And is that something you want to do? Right? For me, I am not a power groomer. I never have been a power groomer. So my answer is always no. No, I cannot do 14 dogs a day. I will die. I'm really comfortable around 5. 5 is a great number for me. I'm finding more and more and more Gen Z and millennial groomers. Our number is 5. We're like, you know what? I want enough energy to go home and enjoy myself. I really don't want to go home and be uncomfortable. So that's awesome, right? So find out, how many dogs a day are they doing? How are they doing it? And do the math for yourself, just so you know, right? So if they're saying I'm doing 8 dogs in 8 hours, that means they're doing a dog an hour. If they're doing, and I'll pull up my calculator while we're talking, okay? And it doesn't recognize me with my glasses on. So I'm pulling up my calculator right now, guys. Okay. So if they're doing 14 dogs in 8 hours, oh, I did it the wrong way. 8 divided by 14. That means that they're spending about 30 to 40 minutes per dog. That's not a lot of time to bathe, blow dry, clip nails, clean ears, etc. So make sure that the numbers they're giving you. So if they're grossing $100,000 a year and they're netting 50, are they netting 50 but doing 14 dogs a day? Or are they netting 50 doing 4 dogs a day, 3 days a week? How many days and dogs are they doing? How many big dogs are they doing? How many small dogs are they doing? Are these dogs aggressive? Are these dogs lovely and wonderful? Are they elderly? Are there a lot of elderly dog clients? Or are they, a mix of everything? Okay. I want you to really consider that. So, what is the likely that the owner's clients are going to stay, right? Because you're not paying $50,000 to take over someone's job, and you're not paying, let's say, $50,000 to buy a bunch of used equipment in a shop that was built 20 years ago. Okay. So, what you're going to do, like we said, we're going to consider style differences and personality differences. If the old owner was like really easygoing, I don't care if you're 2 hours late, I don't mind staying every day and on the weekends, and you are the kind of person that is like very regimented, that may not happen. When you start instilling those boundaries, you can get a lot of backlash, right? If they're like really matter of fact and like take my, they have clients that come in and are just like same as last time and they run out, and you want a more warm and welcoming and like kind of like tea time kind of grooming salon. Those clients may not like that, and that may not work well. Okay. And your girl talks about pricing a lot. Are they pricing profitably and properly? Okay. Are they a $35 Yorkie place or a $75 Yorkie place? And what do you want to be? I feel like we have been at 35, 45 for Yorkies and Shih Tzus since the 1980s, which I keep thinking is 20 years ago, but it's 40. That was definitely like a mind blow moment. So if they've been charging $35 or $45 since 1980, 1990, even 2000, which by the way, the year 2000 was 22 years ago. I know, I can't believe it either. And now you have to bring that price up to 75 or $100. How well is that going to go? And if you do that and you lose everyone and you just paid $50,000 for a grooming salon, now what? Okay. Is the branding you want it to be? So a lot of older grooming salons have very kind of cliche names. They're not very modern. A lot of them are not very fresh. They have, and please don't hate on me, boomer groomers. I love you all. Listen, we respect our elders. We really appreciate you guys so, so, so much. Please don't come at me, please. But I see a lot of names that just don't make any branding sense. It was just someone said something 20, 30 years ago and it stuck, and they haven't rebranded because they have a good reputation. It's kind of like, it's so funny because like you'll see some of these names for businesses. Like there was an auto repair shop called Watts Up. Obviously not grooming related, but that reference makes no sense now. It doesn't, unfortunately. There's no Gen Z who's going to immediately get it. Millennials might get it, but Gen X and boomers may or may not get it. So, do you like their branding? Do you like their business name? When you hear their business name, do you say, oh yeah, that's totally aligned with my vision? Or are you going to have to change the name? Okay. How about the coloring? Are they like super neutral and really modern and really chic? Or is everything hot pink? Or is everything like that? Oh God, I call it like groomer purple. It's like this. I don't even know what color it is, but you guys know. Everyone has seen a grooming salon that's that color. Or is it, I've seen groomers with black walls, right? what color is their shop and do you like it? And are you aligned with that color? And is your soulmate client aligned with that color? Right? Or are you going to have to do a complete remodel anyway and do a full refresh? Okay. Because again, if you have to do all the rebranding and the clients aren't right and they haven't been pricing appropriately and the style doesn't match and they don't have the same personality, what are you buying? So, next, can you lease the grooming salon for a very long time? A lot of our groomers who have been in a place for 20 or 30 years have a really great relationship with that boss, right? I shouldn't say boss, the landlord. And that landlord may have them on a 1, 2, or 3 year lease, or even just month to month. And it may be significantly below market rent. And that landlord may be saying, well, Susie Q is going to retire anytime. I'm not going to kick her out. I'm not going to double her rent. She's been a good tenant for 20 or 30 years. I can limp along for another year or two. And then when someone buys it or, when she closes, I will just make it market rent. That happens so often, guys. So often, because that's exactly what most of us would do, right? If we owned commercial buildings and we had this sweet woman, most groomers are women, sorry to be sexist, and that has been there for 20 years, 30 years, and she's going to retire any day now, you're probably not going to jack up her rent. You're probably just going to try to eke by, right? And then when the new person takes over, then they're going to renegotiate. So when they go to sell it, is that number, if it's a below market or equal to market, can you get a long-term lease, at least 5 or 10 years? Why? Because, like I've said before with other students, if someone goes, that building was worth 3 years ago about 150 to 200,000, and now it's worth between $500,000 and $800,000. If they go to sell the building that was worth 150 to $200,000, and let's say sell it for 5, that mortgage payment on a $500,000 building is about $4,000 to $5,000, depending upon how much they put down. And the 4,000 is about 20% down. That's a lot of money. If they're currently paying, let's say $1,500 or $2,000, and then in a year or two, the building's sold, and now you are picking that up. It's painful. And again, I've seen a lot of people that this happens. They buy a business, and when they buy the business, they basically end up evicted. Well, not evicted. They don't get their lease renewed in a year or two, or they have to completely get all new clients, or they have to completely renovate anyway. What did you buy? You could have just gotten a new lease, use that money to remodel, and been in the same situation. So it's really, really important. There's so many people cashing out of these commercial buildings because they know there is a market crash going to happen. And especially if these buildings are in places where they can have mixed use, which means that people can live and work in them. Those buildings are so hot right now. And you know me, I would much rather you guys be in a building you own and live in, because again, you're paying one mortgage instead of a mortgage at where you live and then a rent, right? They're so hot right now. And a lot of people are unloading them because they can get top dollar right now. So I don't want that to happen. I don't want you to pay $50,000 and then in 2 years, you have to move this business and pay for a whole new renovation. Okay. So what is the ideal scenario for buying a business? Ideally, you should only be buying a business if you've worked there for 3 to 6 months. That way, you like the business, you like its clients, you like its branding, you like its prices, and the clients like you. I mean, that could be it too. Like I've definitely had employees that I've had to leave in the back because their personality just did not mesh with my customers. They just didn't. They either have like when I like dark humor, I like sarcastic dark humor, but my clients did not. That did not work at all. And I had like the best freaking employee who had like this most deadpan personality. And she didn't mesh amazing with the clients, but she didn't have to spend a lot of time with them. It didn't matter. So this is really important, right? Because you love the business. If you work there, you love it so much, you're willing to buy it, right? Versus just, how do I say this nicely? Versus just going out on your own. Okay. And consider buying a business might not be the right choice for you. Starting your own business or simply getting a better grooming job might be the other answer. Okay. Especially with how easy it is to get new clients or to get a new job. Buying a business, a grooming business, I should be specific, is just not that appealing. Unless if there is something already in place, you can very easily fill your grooming books in less than 6 months. Before the internet, before a lot of the marketing that we can take for granted, it could take years to fill. And there just wasn't as much demand for grooming 20 years ago. For better or worse, dogs are kids now, and people are running feeling exclusive businesses where they just groom cats. It's just more socially normed that pets get groomed, and we're in a groomer drought. So if your plan is to buy this grooming business and have these employees, remember, they could just as easily leave. The employees in theory should come with the business, but there's no guarantee. Again, they might be like, I'm super loyal to Susie Q, but the second Susie Q sells the business, I'm out. Or they might be resentful that Susie Q didn't sell it to them. And here you are, this random person coming in, and it doesn't work out. So I know that sounds really negative, and that's not what I want to do, but I want to be realistic. And a lot of you guys that are selling your grooming business, ask yourself, what is that person buying? And it breaks my heart that a lot of you guys really don't have anything to show for it. You don't have an asset to sell. You're trying to sell the job that you've worked for 20 or 30 years and in a building that you don't own with equipment that isn't worth very much, unfortunately. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I'd rather be open and honest with you guys. If you are considering selling your business in the future, now is the time to either do something like create a membership so that person does have clients locked into contracts, that does have everything automated and easy, and they can just plug themselves in. That is an asset to be able to come in and everyone's on an every 4-week schedule and their dog's getting groomed and the groom is agreed upon and it's all nice and easy. That's really easy to sell. What's hard to sell is, well, you're going to buy my used stuff and you're going to work and you're going to have to do all of these things. In the grooming industry, we have to be realistic. And I don't know any other industry that buys businesses that are similar to this. So hopefully I didn't piss off too many people. I love you all. If you're considering selling your business, now is the time to raise your rates. If you guys are interested, you guys can sign up for my price increase masterclass. That teaches you how to figure out how much the business would need to make, right? If you want to gross $100,000 with one groomer, figure that pricing out. And again, assume it's going to be a millennial or a Gen Z buying it, and they're only going to groom 5 dogs a day. Start building those prices and getting that business way more profitable, and if not, at least consider doing a membership model. I have this great workshop that lets you know if a membership model is right for you. Again, if you're interested in selling your business, having a membership model, or buying a business, even having a membership model makes things so easy, right? Because I'm selling you something that is generating money and the clients are already trained and there's already a contract in place. So Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for joining me with this episode of Grow Wealthy Grooming. Be sure to visit me at Savvy Groomer, SAVVY groomer.com to see my current opportunities to work with me in growing your pet grooming business, plus so many more free resources for you to learn. Be sure to be in our community Facebook group, Savvy Pet Professionals. And as always, guys, happy grooming.